Hey everyone, Ariel Adams here with aBlogtoWatch. Please subscribe to aBlogtoWatch videos on YouTube and like this video if you find it useful. I was looking for my small model of a DeLorean car. I have one somewhere. I bought one several years ago to include in the review of this watch. And then I realized that despite the fact that this is the DeLorean DNA watch, there really isn't too much about it that says DeLorean. There's a little bit. You have on the back here, you have the picture of the famous DC-12 car with the gull wing doors open there. And there are, I mean, listen, it's in mostly steel, of course, so you have some polished elements there. So there's the reference to the body of the car, of course, in the subsidiary seconds hand there. You have the sort of yellow, red, and white of the lights. And then overall, it just kind of looks like something that would go perhaps with the car. Like I could see myself driving one wearing this. But I think that the biggest complaint that some people have about the DeLorean DNA is it's not DeLorean enough. And I can appreciate that. As is the case with many of the the DNA family watches from Romain Jerome, there's a little bit of the actual thing they're honoring in the watch. So according to Romain Jerome, and they do it, they buy pieces of original DeLorean cars and they use some of that metal and they melt it down and it goes into the watch. Is it a significant amount? No, that's why they say DNA. So you call it trace amounts. But there are some parts, metal, pieces of metal that have been melted down into part of this watch, for whatever that means. So kudos to that. Otherwise, it's just another Romain Jerome design. It's an interesting one. They've had nothing that quite looks like this before. And the brand is very polarizing. So one of the aBlogtoWatch writers was originally going to review this, and he didn't like it. He didn't care for it. He mostly writes about more mainstream watches that are sort of more geared not towards enthusiasts and collectors, but towards a lot more people. I'm saying things like Omega and Rolex and Tag Heuer. And if you try to compare those to Romain Jerome, it's just two different worlds. Romain Jerome does their own thing, makes their own unique designs, weird watches for collectors. They're not trying to be anything particularly special. I gotta wind this watch a little bit so you can see something moving on there. But some of his complaints I don't think were necessarily fair. One of the things he said is that you cannot read the chronograph. There aren't markers, and that just simply isn't true. If you look at the minute counter here, there aren't numbers, but there's definitely little lines that indicate each one of the 30 minutes. Here for the hour indicator, you definitely have lines to indicate to count for those. Yeah, do you have specific little hash marks around the periphery of the dial for the chronograph seconds hand? No. As a chronograph, it does function as a chronograph. Can you read all the little markers that easily? No, but if you're counting minutes and hours and more or less within about a 5-second precision, trying to count the seconds, you're going to do just fine. You're going to do just fine. And the majority of people that wear chronograph watches don't ever use them but for fun. If they do use them, it's not for anything that requires so much precision. They're not measuring a race. They're measuring something that's cooking or laundry or a parking meter or something along those lines. So he didn't think it was particularly comfortable, and I like it. I've actually been wearing this for the last couple of days, and I've liked it a lot. One thing I like a lot is this leather strap here. I guess, yeah, it's leather strap, a special kind of leather strap. It's very flexible and it's soft. A lot of Romain Jerome straps are quite stiff, but this one is actually very, very soft, and I appreciate that. In fact, you'll find a lot of leather and alligator straps are just incredibly stiff. I don't know why they have to make them so stiff. I like the soft ones, but they make them really stiff. You gotta really wear them in. But this one is soft. It has kind of that ridge here that you'll see in like a lot of like alligator and crocodile straps. The design is nice. There is not a lot of what I would call lightly toned Romain Jerome watches. And this is one of the very, very few ones. And you have that very sort of silvery color, not just in the case, but in the dial, all coming together. Does it have an 80s feel? I don't think so. Does it have an automotive feel? Not especially. It's a design which is inspired by the DeLorean. The CEO, Romain Jerome, is a big fan of the car, as are many people of that generation, and they wanted to create something. This is an official relationship with DeLorean, motor cars, and it's a cool watch for what it is. But I do think that if you are a little bit disappointed that it doesn't look DeLorean enough, that's justified. There are little cues here and there, but they definitely could have been a lot more DeLorean with it. But then it begs the question: do you want a watch that looks like a DeLorean? Do you want a watch that goes with your DeLorean? Do you want a watch that goes along with your appreciation of what the DeLorean was or was supposed to be or reminds you of? And it brings up all these sort of philosophical questions about that. Again, there's not going to be that many of these made. I think they're making 81 for the year that the DeLorean was first released. 81 of these watches. I think that 81 people will like this enough. I think they'll make more of a different kind of DeLorean watch in the future, but for this sort of seminal debut, this is it. It's an interesting piece for what it is. It's good among Romain Jerome's. If you're used to something like Omega in terms of that kind of user friendliness, for example, or attention to all the precision performance details, this is just a different kind of beast. Omega is going to make hundreds of thousands of Seamaster Planet Oceans. There's 81 of these. Okay, so it's just, you have to sort of understand what genre of watch that you're talking about. Price for this was, I think, $15,900. Again, very expensive, but a collector's item, a piece of art, an interesting Swiss watch that you just don't see every single day. You can see the full review of the Romain Jerome DeLorean DNA watch on aBlogtoWatch.